The closer I get, you're wasting your time. The more you ignore.
Hey, so this vlog's going to be a little bit different. This one is going to be the first of Let's Talk About. So let's talk about. I want to hit this one off with a bit of a bang. This was going to be Let's Talk About anxiety. I don't know. Is it common knowledge? I'm not sure. Let's start from the beginning. So I used to suffer with anxiety, and it used to command my life for a good 3 years or so. It stole my early 20s, right up until sort of my mid-20s. And being that I'm 27 now, you know, I have the last 2, maybe 3 years been in a good place. I was in a relationship, and that relationship wasn't particularly happy for both parties, and it started towards the end of that relationship, and at first I didn't know what it was. I think, like many people that do suffer with anxiety, I had no idea what it was. So I was having heart palpitations, shortness of breath, panic attacks, and it was frightening, and I couldn't control it. It seemed like there was no rational reason. There were no known triggers. It would just pop out of nowhere. So yeah, so I went to the doctors a few times, and I was really concerned. You know, I also ended up in A&E a couple of times as well because of just how aggressive these symptoms were. It wasn't like, oh, my heart's fluttering. These were, you know, panic attacks. These were me getting up and having to run out of the building, so at work, for example. And I was finally diagnosed, and the thing with anxiety, if you have or have not, or a friend that might be exhibiting these symptoms, has not been to the doctors, and you might not be familiar with this, but if you have, you might well be. So typically speaking, doctors are reluctant to diagnose you with anxiety disorder before they rule out anything physical that might be wrong with you. So I had ECGs, I had heart scans, I had, you know, blood tests, I had, you know, a lot of tests. And then I was finally diagnosed with generalised anxiety disorder. And putting a label to it is hard. But it's an important step. But yeah, so it's one of those things that can get on top of you very quickly if you let it. And I let it. And at first I refused to acknowledge that it was going to be a long journey to get over it. I was angry, I was frustrated, depression comes with that as well, because you are so out of control, or you feel out of control of your life. And for me, it built up to a point where I couldn't really do much. Leaving the house was difficult. The only thing that I could really leave the house to comfortably do was work, which is strange because a lot of people get signed off work, and I was never actually signed off work with it. So the anxiety manifested itself to a point where, as I said, I couldn't leave my house. And I found it difficult to go anywhere. I had my shopping delivered, my food shopping delivered. I not shied away, but I ignored the right path, and I just expected to one day wake up and be okay. That was the expectation. I didn't recognise that I needed to make some life choices. So with alcohol, I've not been a drinker for years now, 4 years, something like that. It doesn't do anything for me anymore. At first it was an active decision, and it was something that I knew I needed to stop. But with that, I smoked as well, cigarettes, and also my diet wasn't amazing. But then I kept going back to the doctors. So I then tried cognitive behavioural therapy, which was great, and it did. It gave me a few tools that I needed. So sort of in line with that, I also started eating healthily and started to work out. So it all kind of coincided quite nicely together. with the healthy eating and the working out, and so I got into the weight training, which is something that I've stuck with, and eating healthily as well. I very rarely have takeaways. I very rarely have bad food. It didn't go away for quite a while. Your symptoms evolved. So I no longer had, well, I stopped having panic attacks. That was the first one to go. I was doing a lot of research, and I was just trying to understand the physiological side of it, you know, things like the chemical reactions to create the feelings that you would experience. So the feelings of anxiety, and why after a panic attack you feel so drained, and what my triggers were. So it's not just as simple as saying being in a certain situation, that's a trigger. No. For me, tiredness, a big trigger. Low blood sugar levels as well. I also kind of looked into, as I was sort of saying, the chemical reaction. So when you're having a panic attack, your body releases a stress hormone, and essentially what that does is your body kind of has to make space or allow for that energy, that stressful energy to be produced, and it depletes magnesium in your body. So I would take magnesium supplements, because what that does is that fights the fatigue. So even if I hadn't got enough sleep, I hadn't managed my blood sugar levels, I could still allow myself to have some kind of anxiety type feeling, but know afterwards I wouldn't feel as drained. But also pressure points as well. I looked into pressure points. So there's a little sort of nubbin. If you kind of run your finger or your thumb, it's better off using your thumb because it's a wider diameter, but you've got a bone that joins sort of there, that joins your wrist there, and it's quite knobbly. So just a little bit above that, where you can kind of feel it mould back into your palm, if you like. If you press there while you're sort of having a panic type attack, it calms you down. Breathing was a huge one. So controlling your breathing and trying to bring your heart rate down is a really good technique. So I'm sure that you can find many breathing techniques to help you. I can't remember which ones I used. So what I learned in cognitive behavioural therapy is when you start to experience anxiety, your body, or your brain I should say, finds a way around that. So it finds a better way to cope, and you start retraining yourself. So whether that be positive or negative behaviour, you have to retrain yourself. So yeah, so all of these things put together, and you start to form this arsenal. You start to form this toolkit to deal with it, and then your brain actually responds to it really well. And it is the worst thing to know, and the worst thing to be told is day by day. Absolutely. You will not, if you suffer with anxiety or you know someone that does, you will not, guaranteed, wake up one day and you'll be absolutely fine. You will, however, point by point, percentage by percentage, get better. So an effective, reassuring kind of method that I used to tell myself is measuring your improvement percentage-wise. And it's a lot more powerful than it sounds. So when you start putting all these things into practice and you start realising, I can't eat takeaways every single night, you know, I need to start working out, getting your heart rate up, getting your body used to having a fast heartbeat, so that it knows that it's okay, cutting out the alcohol, and start recognising what helps you. Positive reinforcement. You know, you've had a really good day. I feel like I am 60% better. That means I've only got 40% and I'm done. I'm there. I'm in a really good state. And you can start measuring that, and you know what feels right to you and what's being truthful. as well. So you're not just saying, well, I'm 80% better and you're having a panic attack every other week. So yeah, and then you will start to recognise that those percentages start increasing and you start to feel better. Your depression will drop off, and you will start to feel more in control of your life. It is a fucking journey. It's a hard journey. It can be a little bit difficult to think about. And I think for anyone that's gone through this type of thing can find it very difficult to think about and very difficult to talk about. Because it's almost like recognising that that happened when you just rather forget that it ever did. I'm allowed to feel anxious. Any normal human being feels anxiety. They feel stress. They might feel down. Showing yourself that compassion and allowing yourself those feelings once in a while is also really important to recover. If you're suffering with anxiety, you have to rely on yourself. No one else is going to drag you through this. No one else can feel what you're feeling, and nobody can write that. Nobody can bear down and you know, get through it and fight it and rebuild for you. You have to do that entirely yourself. There will be people such as close family and maybe one or two close friends that want to hold your hand. No, it's a tough journey, but you can do it. I believe anyone has the power to get themselves out of it. You just need to start putting those steps in place. It's been a couple of years now, probably a bit longer actually, about 3.5 years, something like that. And I'm grateful. It was a new lease of life. You know, I own my own home, I drive a car, I've got a much, much better job. I feel strong. I don't just look strong, I feel strong. And yeah, I have my down days and I get stressed, but that's just life. So, signing off, I will do another Let's Talk About soon. So I hope this was useful. Please leave any comments below if you want to get in touch or you want to ask some very specific questions about some particular symptoms that you might be experiencing. My contact information, I'll put my Instagram as well, so you can direct message me or you can comment or whatever, and you know, I'll try and help where I can. I'm a sort of a seasoned veteran when it comes to anxiety, generalised anxiety disorder. Came out the other side, so yeah, so good luck, be well, and no doubt you'll be hearing from my ugly mug at some point soon. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and follow me on Instagram.